Today I'm going to talk to you about stress urinary incontinence. Stress urinary incontinence is the leakage that occurs with exertion, like coughing, sneezing, jumping. It might be something as little as standing up from a chair or something more forceful, like lifting a really heavy weight. A super simple analogy to understand stress urinary incontinence is if you imagine a hose. I have a straw here, but imagine this is a hose and it's on full bore. If I lie this hose on something firm, like a concrete floor, and I go to stand on it, because of the firm backstop, I can compress that hose and stop the water coming out. If I were to now take this hose and put it on something more like a trampoline, where there's a bit more give, and I go to stand on it, it's harder to compress the hose and stop the water coming through. If we take this analogy to the human body, and you think of your urethra, so the tube that empties urine from your bladder, as a hose, your pelvic floor muscles, the group of muscles that sit at the floor of your pelvis, contribute to the floor that your urethra sits on. A strong, well-timed pelvic floor muscle contraction is much like your urethra sitting on a concrete floor. You cough, you sneeze, or there's this force coming down maybe from a jump or a heavy lift. That strong pelvic floor muscle creates a firm backstop to compress your urethra and prevent urinary leakage. Conversely, if you have a really weak pelvic floor muscle or a poorly timed pelvic floor muscle contraction, you cough, you sneeze, there's much more give, it's harder to compress the urethra, and you're more likely to experience urinary leakage. This is why pelvic floor muscle strengthening is vital to the treatment of stress urinary incontinence. And it's how JUNOFEM and femfit can support you in succeeding.